Hey guys, it's Practical Psychology, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about the happiness equation. Now the happiness equation is so far my absolute favorite read on happiness. The stories in it were super fascinating, and Neil did a wonderful job integrating studies and facts with his own stories. So the author starts off the book by showing the most common flowchart for happiness. First, most people work really hard, then they think that they will become successful because of the hard work, and then they think once they're successful that will cause them to be happy. So you train, then you win, and then you be happy. Well, the author points out that's a misconception and actually causes a lot of unhappiness. Similar to the happiness advantage, he shows that most people work better when they are happy, and better work leads to a higher chance of success, which reroutes the flowchart backwards. Now right into the first couple chapters, Neil gives 7 ways to be happier in just a couple days. One of them is to write down or journal whenever you feel happy. Not only will this extend those happy feelings, but it will also give you something to read when you are feeling unhappy. Another tip he gives is to perform a random act of kindness. In fact, he quotes Martin Seligman. We scientists have found that doing a kindness produces a single most reliable momentary increase in well-being of any exercise we have ever tested. So try it out. Perform 5 random acts of kindness this week, and don't forget to write about them for double the points. One last tip he mentions is to come up with 5 things that you're grateful for. Now Neil turned this into a business, creating a blog and eventually a book by listing 1,000 things, from wearing underwear fresh out of the dryer to riding on someone's shoulders when you're a kid. But before he goes any further in the book, he wants you to understand why it's important to be so happy. So he pulls out a study about nuns. Now some researchers found a whole bunch of handwritten autobiographies of nuns who joined convents in the 1930s. So what did these researchers do? They read all the notes, all the autobiographies, and sorted them into 2 groups based on how positive the attitudes were. The cool thing about this study is that this study had no outliers. Most of the variables were the same. None of the nuns drank, smoked, had children, married, and also they all lived in the same city and ate around the same type of food. So their relative happiness must be closely related to their attitudes. So what did the researchers find? On average, the happiest nuns lived 10 years longer than the grumpy ones. Also, by age 94, 54% of the happy nuns were still alive, but only 15% of the least happy ones were. This famous nun study helps us realize how important it is to stay happy. Something I found relatively useful in this book is to change the way you think about goals. Now, a lot of people pick goals they can't specifically control. For example, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to reach 1 million subscribers. I want to reach $1,000 a month in my side hustle. So here are what your goals should actually look like. I want to work out 3 times a week. I want to upload high quality videos every week. I want to publish 12 ebooks this year. Those are things that you can actually do, to whereas gaining 1 million subscribers depends on other people. It depends on how much food you ate. It depends on the YouTube algorithm. It depends on how people react to your writing. So let's move on to the next study, and this is one of my favorite. Man, I get so excited about this topic. So there's an island called Okinawa, and what's special about it? Is that the people that live there live the longest ever without disability. Here's some examples. There's a 96-year-old man who defeated a 30-year-old boxing champ. A 105-year-old man killed a snake with a fly swatter. So yeah, obviously some pretty cool stuff happens here. Anyway, scientists were interested in this, so they started studying these people, and they found out a couple of things. The first one is they found that they ate on average smaller meals than most other humans do. Number 2 is that they found that they stopped eating earlier when they were around 80% full. Number 3 is that they were born into social groups and stayed in that social group until they died. And number 4 is the big one, is that they did not have a word for retirement. In fact, they never retired. They just never stopped working. See, the Japanese have this word called ikigai or ikigai, which means a reason to wake up in the morning. So do you have one? Here's some examples that the book gives. One guy's purpose is to teach martial arts and keep the art alive, and he's currently 102 years old. There's also a 100-year-old fisherman, and his reason is to catch fish and feed his family. Oh yeah, there's also a 102-year-old woman, and her reason is to hold her great-great-great-granddaughter. That would literally require 6 generations of family. That's nuts! What an amazing goal that is. So the moral of this story is to find your purpose, find your ikigai, and you'll live longer. Ikigai, ikigai. I think ikigai sounds better. Also, Neil points out 3 things about retirement that you might want to consider. 1, it's new. Nobody retired before the 18th century. Ever. 2, it's a Western idea. Now there's nothing wrong with this, but it doesn't necessarily encourage as much contribution to family and society as a whole, like most Eastern civilizations did. And number 3, it's broken. It's based on 3 flaws. 1, it's based on the fact that we enjoy doing nothing as opposed to being productive. 2, it's based on the fact that we can afford to do nothing for decades. And 3, it's based on the fact that we can't afford to pay others for doing nothing for decades. So I feel 100% more fulfilled when I'm doing something productive as opposed to doing nothing. And it's probably no coincidence people say the 2 most dangerous days in your life are the day you're born and the day you retire. Now, let's get on to how you can make more money than a Harvard MBA. First of all, let me show you this graph, so that you can understand it without me saying a whole bunch of words and trying to explain it. Let's compare the salary of a Harvard MBA, an average retail assistant manager, and a teacher with salaries of $120,000, $70,000, and $45,000 a year respectively. Now add in vacation. Now let's calculate how much each person actually works per year by multiplying how much they would work per week by how many weeks they work in a year. Now you just divide their total salary by how many hours they work, and with these numbers, they all come out to $28 an hour. Each one of these professions earned $28 an hour. A Harvard MBA graduate just works more hours per year, and that means they earn more even if the rate is the same. So would you rather work an average of 81 hours a week or an average of 30 hours a week? That's the difference, just how long each person works. One more big idea that I got from this book is that happiness, well, self-satisfaction anyways, is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are all in harmony. In my past video on outwitting the devil, I didn't really understand this, but maybe that's what Napoleon Hill was talking about when he talked about harmony. The last thing I want to leave you guys with is that some of the best advice Neil gave was not to follow other people's advice or common sayings. He found that many common slogans are just catchy and they're not always true. Here's some contradictions. Birds of a feather flock together. A contradiction of that is opposite attracts. Absence makes the heart grow fonder is opposite of out of sight, out of mind. You get what you pay for is basically the opposite of the best things in life are free. And good things come to those who wait is contradicted by the early bird gets the worm, or the second mouse gets the cheese. It just matters what context you put these in. Anyways, I really enjoyed this book, and I hope you guys enjoyed my review. If you want to read this book, I'll put a link in the description, and if for some reason you want a free trial to Audible to listen to this book while you're doing other stuff, there's a link for that too. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned something.